Welcome to the greatest show on the web about the Cincinnati Reds. It's the fifth Mascot, right here on WCPO.com. With the affabled P.J. O'Keefe, I'm Ken Bruce. Stand by. Mr. Satin's coming up in just a moment. P.J., if there's one thing I've been, I think you have to say I'm consistent. Because every week I sit here and I say there is hope here. There's a reason to believe that this team is going to contend and that all the naysayers should go to Sawyer Point and jump in the Ohio River. We have this on tape.
Beware of currents. You're a man of conviction. Absolutely. Of wavering conviction. But a man of conviction.
I'm not the most consistent guy.
I appreciate your approach to life, Ken Brew.
But we all have to admit, regardless of where we've been, where we are right now is this team continues to be, it's kind of like the dawn of the dead. I mean, they're like wandering around like Eastgate Mall, like they don't know what to do. They're still alive.
And instead of the zombie walk, they're starting to walk a little faster.
More, yeah.
A little faster. And so that kind of begs the question for Reds fans everywhere, for folks of wavering conviction like yourself.
Yes.
How should we react to this? How should we be excited? Should we be pessimistic? Should we be? I mean, there's so many different types of fans in this area, and the Reds reach so many states and so many regions. Here's our editorial cartoon for this week.
I love these. Who does these?
This is by Kevin Necessary. He contributes one of these a week for us on CPO.com. So he's got a couple of choices here, right? We got the blind optimist, which you could say I might align with, perhaps.
Yes.
We have the corporate mouthpiece, of course, those that just whistle along regardless.
Right, which is not me.
No, it's definitely
and
not
not
me.
you.
Well, definitely not me. I'm not marching to the orders. The rationalist, who would seem to be split down the middle, but let's be honest, who's that? There's nobody.
I don't know, but she's pretty hot, and I'm single.
Yeah, she kind of resembles like a real life Rosie.
She does.
In a
I
way.
like the hair. I mean, the hair is kind of like it's like 70s. Well, it wouldn't be 70s. It'd be more like Midge from like the Barbie doll.
There you go, nostalgia
60s.
Retro kind of deal.
Love Midge.
And then we have your longtime fan, which Ken, you very well may qualify for. Forgive the term of long time.
Guy looks like he doesn't bathe.
He might not. We had a comment on Twitter from a Scott Stiles who said, "Why's it got to be the guy with the beard who's the pessimist?"
Scott's got a beard.
Scott Stiles, he may have a beard. I actually
You just
couldn't
have
see
growth.
his
You
identity.
don't have a beard.
I have grass.
Yes.
It's not weeds.
No.
Yes.
No, you just need. It's like a lawn on a Friday afternoon.
More or less.
You know what's happening
on a hot
Saturday.
Friday afternoon.
You know what's happening.
A hot Friday.
But I think that you mentioned that. I think it's interesting because I think most fans roll with it every day. They live by it. They die by it. I don't think there are a lot of rationalists out there like Midge. I just think there's people out there that they win, they feel great. They lose, they feel awful.
Yeah, and I feel that there's a heavy football presence in this area, right? So week to week, you get that instant gratification, the "what have you done for me lately" kind of perspective. With baseball, there's so much more to it than that.
There is.
That you gotta take a step back and you gotta look at it from a different perspective. I think Reds fans should be optimistic. I think since that 7-game skid, we're 7. I'm sorry.
We're 7.
7-5.
Are you suiting up tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm gonna take center.
Okay.
Over Billy. 7-5 since the 7-game skid. That's a good thing.
That is good.
I will take a 7-5 record over 12 games.
Well, the Brewers stink. The division's awful.
Yes.
It's an awful division.
You're right.
I think it's going to be like one of those marathons. It's not necessarily the guy that crosses the finish line first. It's who does he have to step over to get there. And I think you're going to see a lot of these teams. I think Milwaukee is fading, and I fully expect the Pirates to fade too.
Yeah, and most of the National League is like that with conviction behind that too. I mean, let's take a look at the Central Division here. Other than Milwaukee, every other team in the division 6-4 in their last 10 games.
Right.
So that's some consistency, but it shows that nobody's pulling away. Here you go. There's your standings. 6-4 their last 10. As you said, the Brewers are definitely. I think they're fading as well.
I do too, and I don't think Pittsburgh is built long term. I don't know about the Reds. I don't think Pittsburgh's built long term. I don't.
And probably what's going to end up determining where we sit here, from my seat at least, is when Brandon and if Joey comes back.
Can I ask you a question? Have you ever, you're athletic, you played baseball. We saw the video of you hitting that 35-mile-an-hour fastball a couple of weeks ago.
Plus 75.
Have you ever heard of someone that has a quad muscle problem being out for 2 months? Guys in football get quad muscle problems, they're gone maybe a week. I mean, this is starting to smell like, we don't have the full story with this dude.
Yeah, maybe if you're a track runner, I can understand a quad injury sidelining you for a while, but there's something else lingering.
And I understand protecting an investment, because that's what players are anymore. They're investments. They're not players. I get that. But at a certain point, your investment has to work for you. In any corporate environment, you have to have what you've invested in coming back to you. You just can't say, I'm going to leave that over there and see if it can make money for me in a year or 3.
Yeah, Joey's only played 62 games this year.
And horribly. I mean, far below what the expectations were for him this year.
Yeah, the only consistency he's held has been the on-base percentage, which is sort of a Joey Votto staple, and that's a product of his past years, pitchers pitching around.
I think if you're leading off or you're batting second, I think that's a great stat. If you're hitting third or fourth, on base doesn't do a whole lot for me. So that's just me.
Yeah, no, and we'll see how the year goes. We need to go 4-2 every week to make the playoffs. That's all order.
You and me have to go 4-2?
Hey, we're in this too.
Wow.
I think we are. Are we?
How about your boy Johnny Cueto, who continues to look like the dominant starter that he is? Now, this dude's going to cost them a lot of money at the end of next year. Yep. They've already invested $6 and $106 in Homer Bailey. So that's the bar for Cueto, and Cueto is way above the bar. My fear is that they're not going to have dough to sign him. I really do. I mean, his numbers are just off the chart good, and he's so dominating when he's out there.
Yeah, he's convincing, unlike any other pitcher, with perhaps the exception being Clayton Kershaw, who hasn't even pitched a full season. He was injured for a time. We'll talk about that in a sec. Yeah, the $10 million team option next year is in the bag. You're going to pick it up. Cueto's on the team. But after that, there's something needs to happen. And we've been talking about trades for a couple weeks now.
Castellini's got to rob a bank. That's what's going to happen.
Maybe, and maybe, and it's got to be a well-stocked bank.
He'll win 20 this year, don't you think?
He's on pace. Now? He's on pace. There's what? How many games left in the season? We have 60 games left.
About that.
And that's probably 10 or 12 starts, all depending on where Johnny finishes. And he's on pace very easily to get to 20, 21, 22.
He could go 7-3 to finish the season, unless
Absolutely.
he comes down with some of the maladies that he's had in the past. He could win 7.
And that's one thing about Johnny is his longevity is great, with few exceptions. 1 year he came in and out. And
right.
Of course, the 1 year he tweaked his oblique in the playoffs against the Giants.
Right.
I'm not seeing those as patterns, but it's in the back of my mind.
Right, and I'm sure it's in the back of their mind, and that's why they put all that money on Bailey. They figure, okay, this guy has stayed by and large healthy. Let's see if he can develop. He was very young when he came to us. But the fact of the matter is, you know it, and I know it, Homer Bailey is not a top-of-the-rotation guy. He's not a number 1. I don't think he's ever going to be a number 1.
No.
I don't know about Latos. Latos, you got other issues besides just whether he can pitch. He's had arm issues, knee issues. He's had a lot of things this year. He's a little bit of a hothead. I don't know if he's a top-of-the-rotation guy, but that Cueto is.
Yeah, and with Latos, you got to start looking at shoulder issues, arm issues.
Yeah.
That's where things start to go downhill. At least with Johnny, it's been lower body. It's been core, things you can work around and develop.
Not elbow, not shoulder.
Exactly. He's been clean and safe of that. Homer's had some problems, minor problems all over the place, but you're right, generally healthy.
You mentioned Kershaw. How does he stack up against Kershaw?
Yeah, that's the big question. There's pretty much 2 candidates right now that stand apart from the rest of the National League for the Cy Young Award. There is Clayton.
Those are good numbers.
Those are ridiculous numbers. A guy is record-breaking pace. He's not a strikeout guy. He's a ground ball guy. He just gets the job done. He really does. And the only downside to him is that he hasn't, as I mentioned, played a full season. Only 18 starts. He was injured for a time at the beginning of the year.
But third, look at that. Earned run average is off the chain. And I know earned run average is a tricky thing because a lot of it's predicated on defense behind you. But that's still, good night.
That's unheard of in the modern era of baseball, and if he keeps that pace up, Johnny just has no chance. And Johnny's been unfortunate in that regard. The years that he's put up Cy Young numbers, there's always been one other guy.
Yeah.
And Clayton has been that guy a couple of times.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, if I got a money game, I'll still put Cueto out there. Of course, there was a money game last year, and they put Cueto out there, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, we don't need to bring that up.
No, I didn't want to.
Not looking forward, but sort of looking forward and back. Your Cincinnati Reds.
Yes, it's Hall of Fame weekend.
Hall of Fame weekend. It's a fun time of year.
It is.
It really is, and some great greats.
Yeah, who was Jake Beckley? What was he like? I know you got a chance to see him play.
He was a little bit of a black and white guy. And grainy.
He's grainy.
Grainy. I've seen him in photos. So
Stellar
there
stash,
he is.
though.
Gotta
Look
love
at
the
that.
stash.
Look at that.
Love this and the haircut in general. Really.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a great clips cut right there.
that is. I mean, look, just look at that. Just think about the amount of effort it went into grooming a stash like that. You know, back in the day, you could actually go into a barber shop and get your mustache groomed, you know, wax and the whole thing. The ladies loved that back then.
Does Mr. Satin know about that? We should let him know about that.
He needs a razor. But the thing is, if you go into a barber shop now, you say, hey, I'd like my stash treated. They wouldn't know what. They thought your stash may be like, you know, a nickel bag you got
I
or
think
something.
they'd kick you out or provide you with inappropriate materials.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what the great thing about this set of guys here, other than Mr. 1800s Beckley, these are all hometown guys.
Yeah.
This is great. Parker, Quarter Tech High School, Griffey, of course, Moeller, and Ron Oyster.
Oyster.
Sorry, Oyster.
Oyster.
Sorry. I had oysters last night.
Did you really?
No, I didn't. I made that up. I'm
well-
trying to cover myself. I'm sorry.
Although if he ever played in New York, they'd name a dish after him.
That's true. The
Oyster
sliding
Rockefeller.
oyster, even though.
But of all those guys, my favorite, I'm sorry, is Parker.
Yeah.
Dave Parker, to me, when he went to the plate, and I know he had issues besides, but everybody knows that.
Sure.
But when he went to the plate, you just had a feeling like, you know, that ball's chance of staying in the stadium was slim and none. Griffey in his prime was wonderful, but he wasn't here in his prime. He was hitting under 300 when he came here. He injured his shoulder, he injured his hamstring. Yeah. Oster, to me, was the definition of a Major League Baseball player.
Yes.
He just looked like a guy. In fact, that little thing in the clubhouse where they show how the Major League player is supposed to dress, it was Oster. That was the model for it. But to me, of all those guys, Parker was my guy.
Yeah, Dave certainly has probably the biggest Cincinnati legacy. He was only here for a few years, but definitely left his mark. He meant a lot to this city. And Griffey, earlier in his career, so deserving of all of his accolades and everything that he's done. It was just bad timing for his trip to Cincinnati, and I think it was a celebratory moment when he did come here, and I'm glad he's getting into this Hall of Fame.
We'll never know how good he would be if they had spent some money around him, particularly with pitching. I mean, they had guys like, you know, Jimmy Haynes, and who was the other guy they had?
Danny Graves.
Yeah, no, but what was the name of that guy? Not Hoyer. What was the guy's? I can't remember his name. But they had Ron
Aaron
Vallone.
Harang was around for a while.
Ron Vallone was on that. I mean, it was a collection of, you know, torn rotator cuffs. If they had
that's
actually
true.
spent some money on pitching, they might have had a decent team around the guy, and he might have had a chance.
Speaking of Hall of Famers, this is a reason to celebrate here. Your Corky Miller
Yes.
will have his number 8 jersey
Really?
inducted into the Louisville Bats. Oh, I'm sorry, not inducted. Retired. With
Retired.
the Louisville Bats.
They're retiring
They
number
are
8.
retiring the Corky Miller jersey. They will have a Corky Miller night on August 31st to celebrate Mr. Miller and his decade in the minors with the Reds franchise. We are happy for you, bud. Happy for you.
Do you know, I saw something that struck me, and I didn't know this. You probably know this. He actually pitched in a game this year.
Yes, he did.
I did not know that.
And that's not the first time he's done that.
I wouldn't know.
Corky's had a couple.
He even passed out at that news.
He has a career ERA of about 65. So.
But he's your guy. And so is this like he's done now? This is his last year?
Well, he's been on the DL all year. He's had back problems. It doesn't look like he's going to make it back, especially with some of the catching talent in the minors, particularly Tucker Barnhart.
Let's go see Tiger. Tiger's in Louisville. He's got back problems.
That's true. They could. So
can help each other out.
We're happy for Corky, and again, Corky Miller Night, August 31st, down there in Louisville. We're going to have to join in. There are other folks with great mustaches in our presence.
Who?
The one who needs the razor.
Where is he?
Mr. Satin.
Is he out like that on the street again?
Well, he took a break for us last week, and
Somebody said he went to Hawaii.
I don't think he did. I think he made that up.
Right.
Although
He might have had some Hawaiian food. That's might have been.
that's true, pineapple and chicken.
Could have been.
Let's check it out where Mr. Satin's been. I think he's been on Twitter.
Twitter.
Yeah, and you can find us on Twitter, #5thMascot.
Yes.
But see what Mr. Satin found on Twitter.
Nick at Grobot05 says, holy the #Reds lineup is the suck. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate your concern. Doug Smith at Mr. Fresh. I think it's time we embrace the idea that Walt Jocketty was sent from St. Louis to infiltrate and destroy the #Reds organization. Bold words there, Doug. John Schweitzer says 3 runs in the last 24 innings. 3. Oh, and JJ Hoover. Hashtag Reds. Whew. Typical Reds fan, at typical fan, says, it, let's put in Chapman at shortstop. Hashtag Reds. Let's try whatever. Justin Beluga. Justin Beluga. At Justin Beluga. These are all caps right here by Justin. Here we go, below 500. How the do you end strong before the All-Star? Then play like complete after it like a whole different team. Hashtag Reds. The fact that he put everything in uppercase shows me that he's pretty dedicated. He's screaming from his computer. Sam Banta at Riverside Sam. Let's see what Sam's saying. Sam says, Steve Smith sucks. How many runners has he sent to certain death at the plate this year? Hashtag Reds. That's a good question. Because you know what? It's more than one. Jeff Ballman. Jeff Ballman. At Jeff_Ballman. Watching this team makes me want to rip my hashtag eyes out. Hashtag bullshit. Hashtag season over yet? Hashtag Reds. Season is not over yet.
Oh, man. Good stuff. Nobody for a moment believes that those books are yours, though. I'm just telling you that right now. There was some cosmetic editing there, wasn't there?
Swung by the library, you know. I get to peek in there every once in a while. I got overdue books, you know.
Mr. Sattin's study.
So these people that were writing emails to you, they and using those words, are those? I mean, is that the kind of emails you normally get, or do you ever get like
mean tweets.
gentler emails?
Well, yeah, we get gentler stuff. You know, we were really combing out there for hashtag Reds, and there's a lot of people out there pretty frustrated right now. But certain turn of events, maybe we got this car going the right way.
It might be going the right way, and you don't think so?
Wow, those are the bearded people as we presented in
I got some bearded friends.
Our editorial cartoon earlier. Yeah, you don't count.
By the way, what was that guy's name? Jake the Snake? What was his name?
Roberts?
No, the guy with us getting inducted here. Jake.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Jeff Beck
Buckle,
or whatever
Buckles,
his name is.
Beckley, Jake
Beckley.
You know,
Jake Beckley.
He looked like he got his stash taken care of. Do you get when you go?
He was serious about
in
it
a
too.
euphemistic sense, do you go when you go to the barber? Do you get your mustache?
Oh, man,
you go to the barber?
I need to try that.
Do you go to the barber?
What is that? Do they have that here?
Yes, I think so. A few of
I
them
need
at
to
least.
try that. No, I still have the weeds going. I like the analogy earlier with the grass and weeds. I got some weeds going. It's all right.
There's no scotch.
It's difficult for a red-haired man to grow a beard. It is.
You know what's weird? It's
Yes,
turning
it is.
red. It wasn't always red.
It wasn't?
No, it's turning red now.
Well, it looks good on you.
I'm going with it.
Rainbow beard.
Looks
is a
good
real-
on you,
is a real
though.
thing.
But the thing is, so we got an anniversary that we're celebrating here, from what you tell me, because it wasn't all that long ago that the Cardinals were in town, and all hell broke loose.
Sort of a landmark moment in Reds Cardinals history.
Yeah.
4 years ago, August 10th, 2010, the Brawl.
There it was.
There it
And what
is.
precipitated this is Phillips
That guy.
called the Cardinals whiny something or others. That
Whiny
would be one of those
birds.
hashtag
Whiny
people that
birds.
gets a hold of you.
Right, yeah.
Right.
And
Let's hear
he
it.
tapped Molina's shin guard, and then Molina didn't like it, and then it just all rolled out of that. And the only thing I remember about this is two things. One, Johnny Cueto kicked Jason LaRue in the head.
Kicked it while he was down.
Ended his career, probably.
Yeah, very likely.
And the other thing is the pitcher, what's his name that everybody hated? I can't remember. My short-term memory is gone.
That was Carpenter.
Chris
Chris
Carpenter.
Carpenter.
Said, how will I
Used to
explain
him.
this to my children? And every time he pitched again in Great American Ballpark, like he'd walk somebody, invariably somebody would scream, how will I explain this to my children?
That's we still don't know how we'll explain it to Chris
Scott
Carpenter's
Rowland, by
children.
the way, had some guns.
Oh man,
He
he
had
was a
some
big guy then.
guns.
Stacked.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
him and a young Johnny Gomes was involved in all that.
Yeah, he was a maniac.
He was, and he was one of the first on the scene to use a police term.
Yeah.
You know
about
what?
this fight.
You know what was interesting about that series, though? The Reds got swept.
Yes.
And then they wound up in first place like 10 days later.
It was a weird event as far as performance went, and Jim Edmonds had just joined the team as well. From St. Louis to Cincinnati.
See, that's the whole thing about the thing that people were emailing you about, Walt Jocketty being sent here to. Why was Jim? I mean, when you think about it, first of all, he was damaged goods when he showed up.
He was done.
He was old.
He was done.
I mean, that's like
broken down.
That would be like the Bengals, okay? That would be like the Bengals going out and trading for Hines Ward after he broke Keith Rivers' jaw.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
First of all, Ward would never have been that good here when he came here. Second of all, you can't do things like that. You just can't. The town doesn't like that stuff.
Pick up Favre. He's still out there.
High school. He's a high school coach.
But I don't think anybody really hates Favre.
No, they did for a
But
minute
I mean,
there,
it's
when he went
like
to
Jim
Minnesota.
Edmonds is there, and it's like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, and that begs the question, what's a rivalry anymore? I mean, in football, it's physical. In basketball, it's physical. In hockey, it's extremely physical. So there's reason for rivalry there. There is someone who is physically upsetting you, and it creates this disdain. In baseball, it's just melted away. I mean, even the Yankees, Red Sox, which is this, divine rivalry of all rivalries,
They play
has
every week,
faded.
though. Yeah.
That's it. Every Sunday night they're on
it's
TV.
That's true.
Yeah,
No, but it's faded. Those two
cares?
teams traded with each other this year for the first time
That's
since
right. That's a good
'97.
point. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
and so now you look at the Reds and the Cardinals the last 5, 6, 7 years even. There has been movement between the teams, and so this brawl was just, if you ask me, it was an immature Yadier Molina, and it was an even more immature Brandon Phillips. And in the last 4 years, both of those guys have grown up. Yachty is a stand-up ball player now, whether you like him or not.
Right.
He is a stand-up player, and Brandon has straightened out. And while he's still a hot dog and he still shows off, he is a consistent, steady attitude type of player.
And they both have blown thumbs.
That's true.
So who would have thought that could have happened?
And a month from now, I want to see another brawl, though.
Who?
If we're going 1-2, in a month from now, bring it on.
I think. But
How can you explain that to your children?
Carpenter.
I don't know
what a piece of work.
I don't know who their rival is. You're right. I don't know. I mean, we kept getting the Indians jammed down our throats by that stupid Ohio Cup. That thing needs to go away. Somebody needs to run over that with a bulldozer.
Save that for the preseason, for spring training. I'm happy to see a Cleveland-Cincinnati spring training. They play in the same stadium, so it works.
You line up 10 people on Fountain Square and ask them to name the Indians lineup, and I guarantee you couldn't find one person that could tell you 3 people that are on that Indians team.
Kipnis? Is he one?
I don't know. And they got Swisher,
Kitna.
and that's it. They got John Kitna.
Wow!
I'm hearing.
He changed
Whoa.
sports. I didn't know that. Well, tweet at us about that. #5th Mascot.
Nobody cares about the Indians.
Who's
never.
the rival of the Reds? And name 3 players on the Indians roster,
There
which
you
I
go.
bet that
Well,
nobody
people are
can
going to
do.
go Wikipedia it or something.
Yeah, no cheating.
No,
No
don't
cheating.
go there.
All-Star logo was released this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2015. It's sharp.
It is
I like
sharp.
it.
I'm liking it.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Got the mustache up at the top of Mr. Redlegs. Here we are.
We are very mustache hungry right now.
We
as a
are.
city.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah, it's
I
true.
thought facial hair was out.
It's
Oh, it's back. Buckley brought it back in 1897.
Right,
Buckley?
brought it back.
Beckley. I'm
Beckley.
sorry. Beckley.
Jeff Beck brought it back.
Sorry.
I remember him.
Jeff, yeah.
And then Beck in the 90s, he had a little stubble going on.
Yeah.
I guess
Mark
Je-
Schott is pretty upset right
She
now.
had some
She's turning-
stubble, too.
Yeah, she did have some stuff. She was violating her own rule. Yeah.
God.
No, it's a sharp-looking logo. I think this sort of makes it real. I don't know that it's set in
good point.
that next year the culmination of the Summer Classic is going to be at our doorstep.
That's
I think
pretty
that's cool.
I think even cooler than the game is going to be like the parade through downtown,
Yeah.
the home run derby, and the All-Star Village. And all. The game will be good. I'm not saying it won't be, but it's going to be really really
It's
cool.
going to be fun. Pete Rose will be here. He's
there
been
we go.
given
On the
permission
field.
to participate. Yeah, exactly.
on the field. And then yesterday, Bob Castellini said his hope is that Brian Price gets to manage in the game, which
Yeah,
means they'd have to go to the World Series.
Let's
That's-
make that happen.
It could happen.
We'll see about that.
A lot
I
of
think
work.
that's
Chance is about
possible.
25% right now on baseball
Yeah,
perspective.
let's not look at the odds. We don't like the
I
odds.
don't like odds.
Something to look forward to: self-serve beer. That was a new innovation in Minnesota this year.
I do that all the time.
Unveiled
tell
at
me
the.
about this.
Yeah, how does
I'm
that
not sure
work?
that that's
Here.
allowed.
Hand.
There's going to be a
Right.
tap. Fans will pay for just swiping a
My
credit card.
dog
and-
actually goes
Really?
to the refrigerator and gets a bottle for me.
That is expert
But
training, Ken Bruce.
he can't. We're working on opening the bottle with his teeth.
Mm.
But
Watch the glass.
self-serve beer, you can actually go to the stadium, and then what do?
There's machines, and it's essentially like you would self-serve frozen yogurt. You walk up, you pay for it, and pour it in.
Do you know?
We're
This is
gonna
cool.
need a demonstration. demonstration
This
that
is
here
a
on the
true
fifth
story.
mascot of that.
You're right.
I was in Tokyo in 1999, and on the streets of Tokyo, they have vending machines that have beer and sake.
And sake.
And sake.
And
so
lots
like
of other things.
You put like a couple of quarters in there,
Right. Is
there
and you
sushi in there as well?
people are like walking around Tokyo drinking sake. They get out of a machine. It's unbelievable.
Middle of the day
I like
pick
that.
me up, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Well, why don't we start petitions? We should
Well,
start
it
petitions.
only took us 15 years to get it. I hope they have that here next year.
Something to look
That'd be
forward
great.
to.
Sake,
Possibly.
get some sake at the
Some
game.
Cincinnati Red
Something
sake.
I like that. They
Yeah.
serve sushi. Let's get some sake down there.
All of the above.
Yeah.
So before the All-Star game next year, we got another week of baseball.
Right.
Yeah.
We got to take a game at a time here. 4 games back. We were talking about it earlier.
Gee, it's a shame the Indians are leaving, but you got the Marlins in here, and the Marlins are not good.
Nope, they're not good. And though
The Red Sox stink.
the Red Sox,
Yeah.
they just did an overhaul though, so it's going to be interesting to see what they bring to the table. We know Joe Kelly. We've seen him with the Cardinals before. We'll see him again when the Sox come to town. And then day game, Brandon Workman, who's nothing to write home about.
That undecided guy, he pitches a lot.
Yeah, he's real good.
He's an
real
up-and-comer.
good. He's got a 0 ERA.
But see, so you got the Indians, and then like I said, they ought to win every single one of those
Need a
games.
sweep, yeah.
You know, homestand. Now's no time like the present. And I'm going to throw this out there. Chris Negron. He's technically a rookie. He's played for the Reds before. He was called up a couple years ago. While Brandon Phillips is out, I would love to see him at second base every day. I think he's got a 282 average, 3 homers, 8 RBIs in a handful of games.
Good
and,
swing.
And the guy knows how to situationally hit.
Well,
I want to see more Chris
Here's the
Negron.
problem. You got Hanahan, Negron, Ramon Santiago. These are all 25th guys on a 25-man roster with a contending team. It doesn't matter. Schumacher is like a 23rd or 24th guy. So it's like, yeah, I'd like to see him, but I don't know what the difference is between any of those guys.
I've from just small sample size.
too,
Negron looks like he knows what he's doing. He's steadily improved in the minors. I was looking at his stats earlier. He's started from the bottom. Now he's here.
Very young-looking guy, too.
Yeah,
I don't think he has to shave.
No, he's actually. I thought that as well. He's 28. He's not that young.
He looks young to
wax
me.
job.
Yeah, I know, he
Wax
does look
job.
young.
You think so?
He's a
Yeah.
career
He looks
baby
young to
face.
me.
It's just like Jay Bruce. He'll look like he's 14 for the rest
A
of his
little
life.
cherub face, you know.
That's
the
right.
rosy
And that
cheek.
smooth, long, thick
Yeah,
haircut.
I had that
Streamy.
going on years ago.
Suave.
We're excited. We got a week of baseball left.
I'm excited. But you've heard me say there, haven't you? Before you came in, I said that this every week. I said this
Every
team's
week,
in
Ken.
it.
Every
Week, right?
Right? We're listening.
Right. And Mr. Revisionist over here was the one that was saying, well,
Revisionist.
me every week I'm saying this team's in it. They got to go out and get a bat. Alex Rios.
Extended trade
Alex
deadline.
Rios.
Call him. Negron. Christopher Negron with a K, by the way.
Yeah, Chris, like
With
Chris
a K.
Kringle. I like that.
Chris Kringle.
So if people want to find us on the internets
Talk to us.
and the tweets, they find us where?
Fifth mascot, hashtag fifth mascot.
Look at these people.
Here, we got a couple of
wow.
folks coming
There
in.
it is.
Matt Roman, type of Reds fan who got crushed when he found out Mr. Red was just a guy in a suit.
You ought to see the guy in the Gapper suit. That'll really
Yeah,
help.
Mr. Satin, do you have a reaction to finding out that Mr. Red was just a guy in a suit?
You know, I'm still not a believer. I think deep down, there's a Mr. Red in there. I'm not giving up hope on that yet.
Yeah, tweet at us, hashtag fifth mascot. Let us know what kind of fan you are.
I'm telling you, Midge has got it going on. I'm just telling you right now.
He's
She's
equipped.
He's got it going on.
Hopefully
You got a
she's in the
guy my
diamond
age
seats.
looking at that?
There you go.
Absolutely. Does she exist, or is this just in Necessary's mind?
Very few.
Usually Kevin Bates, there he is right there tweeting at us. Usually Kevin bases his cartoon characters on pseudo-fiction, which is a new genre.
What does Jesse say? If Henry V could defeat 10,000 French...
Wow.
Wow,
Well,
Jesse.
bold.
Oh, my goodness.
Bold to
Going old school on us there.
I don't know that I've heard a Henry
Henry
V joke.
No.
No, I
lately.
couldn't even tell you what the four before him
That's
did.
like Jake Beckley.
A fifth
He would know
mascot
who
first
Henry
right
V
there.
is.
Yeah. Odelay, wasn't that his album?
Olay,
yeah.
maybe.
Jeff Beck.
Jeff
Jeff
Beck.
Beck.
Jeff
That's
Beck.
a heck of an album.
Olaf.
One of the 5
say
greatest
that?
guitarists of all time.
Right, with the apple on the cover?
There you go.
Yeah, that's
These
a real
guys-
good
he
one.
knows.
These
Hey,
guys
I
know.
know.
I don't
I
know.
own that. That's good
I'm
stuff
just
right
here
there.
for the baseball.
Listen to somebody
Oh,
else
yeah.
besides
I'm just here
Morris.
for the
You might
baseball.
expand your
Yeah.
horizon.
Let me see. That's pretty
love
good
Katy
right there.
Perry.
So we're back on. Oh my! We're back next Thursday live.
We are back live next Thursday.
Unless management says otherwise, we're
Unless
back
we
next
hear from
Thursday
the top.
too.
Hashtag fifth mascot.
And
need
on
a lot of
demand
meat
all the
this
time at WCPO.com.
You can find us.